The palace throne room gleamed with crystalline architecture that refracted light into 1,000 colors across its vaulted ceiling. Princess Velara of the Dracorian Empire sat upon her elevated seat, her crimson scales catching the ambient glow. As she gazed down at the human ambassador with barely concealed contempt. Her species had ruled this sector of space for 3 millennia, and she saw no reason to treat the newcomers with anything approaching respect. "You dare speak to me of territorial disputes?" Velara hissed, her forked tongue flickering between razor-sharp teeth. "Your kind has been traveling the stars for what, 2 centuries? We were building interstellar highways when your ancestors were still painting on cave walls." Ambassador Marcus Kane stood before her, his expression neutral despite the insult. He was a tall man with graying hair at his temples and the weathered look of someone who had spent years negotiating with hostile alien civilizations. Behind him stood 2 members of his security detail, both remaining perfectly still in their dark uniforms. "Princess Velara," Marcus began, his tone diplomatic. "The Accord of Rimward Station clearly establishes that both our peoples have legitimate claims to—" "I do not care about your accords," Velara interrupted, rising from her throne. She stood, nearly 8 feet tall, her powerful tail sweeping across the polished floor. "Your species is weak, short-lived, and insignificant. You breed like parasites and spread across worlds that do not belong to you." The other Dracorians in the court chittered their agreement, their scales rippling with amusement. Velara smiled, enjoying the performance. She had dealt with dozens of lesser species before, and humans were no different. They would posture, threaten sanctions, and ultimately back down. They always did. "You seem to misunderstand our position," Marcus said quietly. "We are not here to beg for anything. We are here to inform you that your mining operations in the Helix Nebula must cease within 30 standard days." Velara laughed, the sound echoing through the vast chamber. "Or what, human? Will you send your primitive warships against the Dracorian fleet? We have 5,000 vessels of war. How many do you have? 200? 300? 417, Marcus corrected. "But numbers are not everything. You'll be dead in a minute, human, if you continue to waste my time with your pathetic threats," Velara snarled, descending the steps toward him. Her clawed feet clicked against the crystal floor. "Do you know how many species have stood where you stand now? Do you know how many thought they could challenge Dracorian supremacy?" "Several," Marcus replied. "I have studied the histories. The Krell Confederation lasted 18 years before they sued for peace. The Vorthan Alliance managed 31 years. The Crystalline Collective held out for nearly a century before economic pressure forced them to submit." Velara stopped a few feet from him, her yellow eyes narrowing. "Then you know what happens to those who oppose us." "I know what happened to them," Marcus agreed. "I also know what they were not. And what is that? Human." The word hung in the air like a challenge. Velara felt a flicker of something unfamiliar. Passed through her, but she dismissed it as irrelevant. She had heard similar bravado before from other species in their final days. "Your arrogance will be your extinction," she said. "I grant you one final chance to withdraw your ridiculous demands and accept Dracorian sovereignty over the disputed territories. Refuse, and I will order my fleet to your nearest colony world. They will reduce it to ash as an example to the rest of your kind." Marcus reached into his jacket pocket slowly, careful not to alarm the guards. He withdrew a small data chip and held it up. "Before you make that decision, Princess, I think you should review something. This contains information about humanity that your intelligence services apparently failed to provide you." Velara gestured to one of her attendants, who took the chip and inserted it into a holographic display. Images began to form in the air between them. "These are historical records from Earth," Marcus explained. "My homeworld. This is what we call World War II. Notice the date, approximately 300 years before we achieved faster-than-light travel. The hologram showed massive armies clashing across continents, cities burning, weapons of devastating power being deployed. Velara watched with growing unease as the numbers scrolled past. 70 million dead. Entire nations mobilized for total war. Industrial capacity converted wholesale to produce instruments of destruction. This was just one conflict, Marcus continued. We have fought hundreds like it, thousands of smaller ones. For most of our recorded history, we were at war with ourselves. We perfected the art of killing not against alien species, but against other humans. The hologram shifted to show more recent conflicts, insurgencies, guerrilla campaigns. Humans fighting in deserts, jungles, frozen wastelands, and urban ruins. We are a species that evolved as persistence hunters, Marcus said. Do you know what that means, Princess? It means our ancestors would chase prey for days across open plains under a burning sun. The animal would be faster, stronger, but we would never stop. We would track it until it collapsed from exhaustion, and then we would kill it. That instinct is coded into our very genes. Velara said nothing, but her scales had begun to pale slightly. You threatened to destroy one of our colony worlds, Marcus continued, his voice still calm. Let me tell you what would happen next. Every human in colonized space would demand retaliation. Our government would have no choice but to comply. We would mobilize our economy for war. Every factory, every shipyard, every resource extraction facility would be converted to military production. The hologram showed projections now, numbers and tactical analysis. Within 6 months, we would have 2,000 warships. Within a year, 5,000. Within 2 years, we would match your entire fleet, and we would not stop there. We would continue building until we had overwhelming superiority. Impossible, Velara whispered. No species can sustain that level of industrial output. We can, Marcus said simply. We have done it before, and while we build, we would fight. We would hit your supply lines, your mining operations, your undefended colonies. We would use every dirty trick, every underhanded tactic, every war crime we have invented over our blood-soaked history. We would make you afraid to leave your home systems. He stepped closer, and for the first time, Velara retreated a half step. Do you know what the most dangerous thing about humanity is, Princess? It is not our technology or our numbers. It is that we remember. We remember every slight, every insult, every loss. We erect monuments to our defeats so that future generations will seek revenge. We teach our children about ancient wrongs committed millennia ago. We do not forgive, and we do not forget. The hologram shifted one final time, showing Earth itself, the blue and green sphere hanging in space. That world gave birth to a species that survived ice ages, supervolcano eruptions, plague, famine, and our own self-destructive tendencies. We clawed our way to the top of our food chain through sheer stubbornness and an absolute refusal to quit. And now you have threatened us. Marcus turned to leave, then paused. The Helix Nebula operations will cease in 30 days. If they do not, we will remove them by force. What happens after that is entirely up to you. But know this, Princess. If you start a war with humanity, you will win battles. You may even win battles for years. But in the end, we will destroy everything you have built. We will turn your empire to dust. Not because we are stronger or smarter, but because we will never, ever stop. He walked toward the exit, his security detail falling in behind him. The Dracorians in the court remained silent, processing what they had witnessed. Velara stood frozen, her mind racing. She had dealt with aggressive species before, but there had been something different in the human's eyes. Not anger or hatred, but something far more chilling. Certainty. He spoke not as someone making threats, but as someone describing inevitable future events. "Ambassador," she called out. Marcus stopped and turned. "The mining operations will be withdrawn within the specified time frame. Perhaps we were too hasty in our assessment of your species." Marcus nodded once. "A wise decision, Princess. My government will be pleased to hear it." After the humans left, Valara summoned her military advisors. The holographic data the ambassador had provided was distributed and analyzed. The more they studied human history, the more concerned they became. Every advisor reached the same conclusion. Humanity was not like other species. They were not merely willing to fight. They seemed to thrive on it. One elderly Dracorian, a veteran of countless campaigns, summed up the consensus. "They are predators who learn to build starships. We should avoid conflict with them at all costs." Valara agreed. The Helix Nebula was rich in resources, but it was not worth discovering whether the human ambassador had been bluffing. She suspected he had not been. In her long life, she had learned to recognize dangerous beings, and Marcus Kane had been very dangerous indeed. 3 weeks later, all Dracorian mining operations in the disputed territory were withdrawn. The Accord of Rimward Station was officially recognized by the Empire. Humanity had won its first major diplomatic victory through nothing more than truth and reputation. And in the shadows of Imperial intelligence networks, a new file was created and marked with the highest priority classification. Its title was SIM.